Hey Bullets YouTube channel.
Hurry up, now tell us why you're here.
Casey Corner will start at pole position for the second race of 2012, and Juan Pablo Montoya has a new look after his crash. Kyle Busch-Tire would wreck all of these cars! Why? And Phil Tankson would be 25th as of lap 251, where he wrecks Kurt Busch-Tire, who then goes on to say this: Kurt Busch-Tire, don't say that word! And Tony Gasworth would lead the most laps, leading for 127 of them. But Jimmy Cables would get his very first win, winning the second race of 2012, where Tony Gasworth would finish second, Lightning McQueen third, Greg Beeple fourth, and T.G. Castlenut rounding out the top five. Doug Throttleman would be the last car to finish on the lead lap, finishing 34th. Cal Weathers will start at pole position for the third race of 2012, where Chick Hicks would start on the outside pole and then wreck all of these cars. Why, you mean green car? And all of these cars would go down the lap as a result. Phil Tankson would be 17th as of lap 325, where he wrecks the mean green car. Hooray! And many Piston Cup fans would cheer this event. Lightning McQueen would lead the most laps this race, leading for 159 laps, but Tony Gasworth would be the winner of the third race of 2012, with Lightning McQueen finishing second. Greg Beeple would finish third, Bobby Swift fourth, and Jack DePost rounding out the top five somehow. Landon Carsell would be the last car to finish on the lead lap, finishing 29th. Tony Gasworth will start at pole position for the fourth race of 2012, where Speedy Comet would accidentally cause a crash on lap 44. And Bogart Hopscotch would be 35th as of lap 45, where he wrecks Samuel Serpentino. Of course he does that. And Joey Logierno would be 27th as of lap 47, where he wrecks Bogart Hopscotch. Why, you mean orange car? And Chip Gearings would be out on lap 195 because of an engine failure. And Carl Edwards would be out on lap 264 because of a different engine failure. Ryan Newcar would go airborne on lap 268 because of Kyle Busch-Tire. Why? And Rex Revler would accidentally wreck Casey Gears and himself on lap 301. Eric Carmarola and Dino Draftski would both go down a lap as a result. And Denny Carlin would lead the most laps this race, leading for 116 laps, and he would win the fourth race of 2012, with Cal Weathers finishing second this race, Brad Keselowski third, Martin Carx Jr. fourth, and Jimmy Cables rounding out the top five. Marcus Cranksler was the last car to finish on the lead lap, finishing 30th. Lightning McQueen would start at pole position for the fifth race of 2012, where Ernie Gearson would be out this race because of Brian Brooks, who wrecked him in practice. Why? But Brian Brooks would be suspended this race because of what he did. Tommy Highbanks would be out on lap 5 because of an engine failure. And Mark Burnsley would wreck out 5 laps later. Speedy Comet would be out on lap 18 because he hit the wall really hard. And Will Draftrev would be out on lap 82 because he ran out of gas. And Rev Rodages would be out on lap 391 because of an engine failure. Lightning McQueen would lead the most laps this race, leading 362 laps, including pole. And he would go on to win the fifth race of 2012, where Cal Weathers would finish second this race, Bobby Swift would finish third, Brad Keselowski fourth, and Jimmy Cables rounding out the top five. Paul Racedraft was the last car to finish on the lead lap, finishing 38th this race. Jimmy Cables will start at pole position for the sixth race of 2012. But Cody Lightyear would start the race for Reb Meeker, running the first 22 laps. And Kyle Busch-Tire would wreck all of these cars on lap 91. Phil Tankson would be 7th as of lap 171, where he wrecked Kyle Busch-Tire. Hooray to Phil Tankson! And Doug Throttleman would start an accidental crash on lap 275. Bobby Carboni would go down a lap 4 laps later as a result. Jimmy Cables would lead the most laps this race, leading for 98 laps including pole, but he would not win the race, even though he was in the lead on the final lap. The winner would be Bobby Swift, the defending champion, winning the 6th race of 2012, with Clint Bokar finishing 2nd this race, Chad Motorgas finishing 3rd, Reb Meeker 4th, and Joey Logierno rounding out the top 5. Ace Arrowhead was the last car to finish on the lead lap, finishing 29th this race. Lightning McQueen would once again start at pole position, but this time for the 7th race of 2012, where Joey Logierno would wreck all of these cars! Why? And Kurt Busch-Tire would be out on lap 326 because of an engine failure. And then he goes on to say this: Kurt Busch-Tire, don't say that word! And Speedy Comet, once again, wrecks himself while wrecking another car. At least it was Joey Logierno this time. 5 laps later, Cal Weathers would lead a lap while stopped, but Lightning McQueen would lead laps 371 to 372 while driving backwards. And Toe Mater says this. And then Kyle Busch-Tire would say that Lightning McQueen was being a show-off. And then the King says this, saying that it takes real talent to lead backwards. And Bob Cutlass has this to say: well, has Daryl Cartrip ever done that? No, he hasn't. While Lightning McQueen was in the lead, all of these cars went down a lap. David Rudikar would be out on lap 499 because of an engine failure. Lightning McQueen led the most laps this race, leading for 394 laps including pole, and he would win the 7th race of 2012, where Cal Weathers would finish 2nd this race, only losing by 5 feet. Brad Keselowski finished 3rd, Bobby Swift 4th, and Tony Gasworth would round out the top 5. And Murray Clutchburn would be the last car to finish on the lead lap, finishing 15th. And Kyle Busch-Tire would start at pole position once again, but this time for the 8th race. His teammate Joey Logierno would wreck Eric Carmarola and Jack DePost. And Denny Carlin says this to him. And he also says this, comparing them to the Mean Green car. And Chickix says this: you do have a Piston Cup, and this Piston Cup fan named Josh Shiftson also gets very mad at the Mean Green car. And Jimmy Cables would go airborne on lap 129 because of Brad Keselowski. Why? And then Brad Keselowski says this: why are you wrecking other cars? And then Jeff Burnton and Doug Throttleman would wreck each other while jumping over Brick Hicks on lap 187. And he is not out. His older brother Chick says this. And then Josh Shiftson would get really mad at the Mean Green car and then shove him. And then other Piston Cup fans would begin tire fighting the Mean Green car, and then Tom, the Piston Cup official, would have to remove the Mean Green car from the track. No Piston Cup fans were banned as everyone hated him so much. Buck Beeringley would take the lead on lap 203, and then Piston Cup fans would cheer him as he took the lead. Hooray! Matt Kenseth and Lightning McQueen both led 75 laps each, the most laps led for this race, but it would be Lightning McQueen who would win the race, with Matt Kenseth finishing 2nd this race, with Brick Yardley finishing 3rd, Denny Carlin 4th, and Kyle Busch-Tire rounding out the top 5. Rex Revler was the last car to finish on the lead lap, finishing 37th in the 2012 Vitalin 350. Tony Gasworth will start at pole position for the 9th race of 2012, where Dirksen D'Agostino would be out on the very first lap, and Kurt Busch-Tire would be 39th as of lap 4, where he wrecks Ralph Carlo. Why? Samuel Serpentino would be 40th as of lap 11, where he wrecks who? Bogart Hopscotch. Of course he did that. And Mark Carton would be out on lap 28 because he got really tired. But no need for him to worry because Clint Bokar has got this. Brian Sparks would accidentally wreck David Stremrim and himself on lap 54. And Ryan Newcar would go airborne on lap 81. But why is he in the air? Because Kyle Bushtire wrecked him. Why, you mean yellow car? And then his older brother, Kurt, would be 28th as of lap 102, where he wrecks Speedy Comet. Why? And Phil Tankson would be 26th as of lap 107, where he wrecks Kurt Bushtire. And then he says this: Kurt Bushtire, don't say that word! And Chip Gearings would be out because of another engine failure on lap 304. And then Chip Gearings says this: I hope so too. Clint Bokar would lead the most laps this race, leading for 105 laps, but Cal Weathers would be the winner of this race, winning the 9th race of 2012, with Clint Bokar finishing 2nd this race, Matt Garza 3rd, Tony Gasworth finishing 4th, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. rounding out the top 5. Paunchy Wipeout would be the last car to finish on the lead lap, finishing 35th. Jimmy Cables will start at pole position for the 10th race of 2012, where Brick Hicks would be out on lap 6 because he hit the wall really hard. And Bogart Hopscotch would be 28th as of lap 42, where he wrecks Samuel Serpentino. Of course he did that. And then Bogart Hopscotch would get flipped on lap 58 because of Joey Logierno. Why? And Speedy Comet would be out on lap 85 because of an engine failure. And then Jack DePost would be out on lap 101 because of 2 cut tires. Robbie Gorvette would be out on lap 106 because of an engine failure. And then Trevor Turnrev would go down a lap on lap 206 because of a long pit stop. Brad Keselowski would lead the most laps this race, leading for 72 laps, but Kyle Bushtire ends up winning the 10th race of 2012, with Brad Keselowski finishing 2nd this race. Casey Corner finished 3rd, Lightning McQueen 4th, and Cal Weathers rounding out the top 5. Randy Revkins is the last car to finish on the lead lap this race, finishing 37th. What makes this one special is that this is the first lead lap finish Randy Revkins would have this century. Greg Beeple would start at pole position for the 11th race of 2012, where Will Draftriv would be out on lap 6 because of an engine failure, and Reed Sorencar would be out on lap 17 because of a different engine failure. Jack Armstrong would be out on lap 26 because he hit the wall really hard, and Joe Brakecheck would be out on lap 57 because of yet another engine failure. Speedy Comet would accidentally wreck Carl Edwards and himself on lap 334, and Brad Keselowski would lead the most laps this race, leading for 183 of them. And he would be the winner of the 11th race of 2012, with Matt Karzith finishing 2nd this race, Martin Carx Jr. 3rd, Clint Bokar 4th, and Lightning McQueen rounding out the top 5. Casey Corner would be the last car to finish on the lead lap, finishing 37th this race, and Cal Weathers would start at pole position for the 12th race of 2012, with Reb Meeker being out on lap 16 because of an engine failure, Brian Sparks being out on lap 33 because of 3 cut tires, Joe Brakecheck would be out because of yet another engine failure on lap 48, Mark Outerbrakes would be out on lap 54 because of yet another engine failure, and Doug Throttleman would be out on lap 73 because he hit the wall, and Ryan Rodages would be out on lap 86 because of an engine failure. Samuel Serpentino would be 32nd as of lap 136, where he wrecks Bogart Hopscotch. Of course he did that. And then Samuel Serpentino would be out on lap 138 because he hit the wall really hard. And Dirksen D'Agostino would be out on lap 281 because of an engine failure. AJ Carmendinger and Chip Gearings would both go down a lap as a result. After this, Mark Carton would be out on lap 338 because of an engine failure because he was really tired. And Lightning McQueen would lead the most laps this race, leading for 201 of them. But Brick Yardley would be the winner of the 12th race of 2012, with Casey Corner finishing 2nd, Denny Carlin third, Kyle Busch Tire fourth, and Lightning McQueen rounding out the top 5. Tommy Highbanks would be the last car to finish on the lead lap, finishing 31st. And here is the top 20 in points after the first 12 races of the 2012 Piston Cup season, with Lightning McQueen in the lead once again. But he is not so far ahead in points like he was in 2010. Cal Weathers, Matt Karseth, Greg Beeple, and Jimmy Cables are less than 100 points behind Lightning McQueen. Denny Carlin, Kyle Busch Tire, Kevin Karvik, Brad Keselowski, and Dale Earnhardt Jr. round out the top 10.
Remember to press the notifications button, which goes ring, ring, ring after you press it. And lightning strikes back, and that's as if you subscribed, of course. And thank you for watching this entire video.
Oh, I completely forgot to talk about the racers who are currently 11th to 20th in points. But here's what I will say. The cars who are around 19th to 20th, which include Joey Logierno for some reason, are not that far ahead of the cars just below them, such as Martin Carx Jr. and T.G. Castlenut, which almost guarantees that in the next video, the top 20 will have different cars in it. But who do you think will be in the lead at the end of the 24th race of 2012? Comment what you'll think will happen in the next video. 2012 Piston Cup Races 13 to 24. And the next video will be coming out soon enough. Hopefully, the end of the 2022 Russian invasion of Ukraine will come sooner than my next video. The Ukrainian people have been through enough. This war has lasted 1 year and 7 months. The Ukrainian people just wanted to live in peace and have freedom. But they got neither, because of the tyrant and bully, Vladimir Putin, who started this unjustified war. Why did he need to start this war? Isn't Russia the biggest country in the world? There's no need for you to take more land. Don't be greedy, Vladimir Putin. The Ukrainian people just want to live in peace. The Ukrainian people did not deserve this. Not even Russia's soldiers deserved this war. This war was fought because of Vladimir Putin's greed. And the international community has Ukraine's back, as Ukraine and the Ukrainian people are standing up to the tyranny of Vladimir Putin, with Ukraine trying to maintain its territorial integrity. The borders that you see here on this screen are the legal borders of Ukraine. Do not believe what Vladimir Putin tells you about Ukraine's borders. Ukraine will prevail in this war against tyranny. And the return of Crimea, the Donbass, and all other occupied territories of Ukraine will hopefully happen very soon. We at the hashtag Bullets YouTube channel stand firmly with Ukraine. Slava Ukrainie! Heroям слава! Нехай швидше дарується Україні перемога!